All right, shalom, shalom, shalom. Want to give all honor and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai. Right, Yahweh being the name of the Heavenly Father, who the world calls God. All right, Yahweh Shai being the name of His beloved Son, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus. All right, this is the brother Yair Dot of WFI Indiana camp coming at y'all with a quick cold cut through the spirit. All right, and what this is titled, right, is Naturalism Belief Destroyed plus Second Commandment Explained. All right. Shalom to all the people out there doing the work of the Lord, all the sisters, right, that's being shamefaced, loving their husbands, right, if they have them. If not, right, loving the Most High God and all the children, right, that's staying steadfast in His truth in these last days, and all the men of the Lord that go out to the highways and byways and the hedges to compel the people to come back in. Right, shalom, shalom. So that's the title, right, of this live. And that's what we're going to be going and diving into, right, just a little bit. Now, this naturalism thing that's going on right now, it all derives from Esau. At the end of the day, we're gonna jump right into this thing, and Lord willing, I'll be able to share my screen, and we can look some things up, Lord willing. But so this whole naturalism thing going around that, believe it or not, many of our people believe in. Is basically based off of philosophy that dates back to Rome, right? Chiefly, it really didn't come about fully as the naturalism doctrine as we know it now, and how they portray it, at least, or how some portray it, until recently around, probably, I think, if I'm not mistaken, like the 18 or the 1700s, if I'm not mistaken. We'll get into all that, though, and look all that stuff up. But, all this is just a product of the so-called white man, basically, and not believing in the Most High God and trying to debunk the Most High God by using things such as science, okay, such as so-called naturalism. All right, these things they use and they bring forth and try to contaminate the minds, right, of Israelites to try to sway them away from the truth at the end of the day. All right, so let me get this precept real quick. Classic. All right, this is the book of Isaiah, or Salakia, I want Psalms. It's the book of Psalms, chapter 53 and verse 1. It says, "The fool has said in his heart, there is no God. Corrupt are they, and have done abominable iniquity. There is none that doeth good." So at the end of the day, hey, you a fool if you don't believe in the Most High God. You're a fool if you chalk things up to nature, natural things. Oh, it happened because of this. You give everything credit, you understand, except the Most High God. All right, who formed and created all these different things that as we know it. All right, so with that, you have to understand that you have to be on a low level to not believe that there's a higher power, to not believe that there's divine intervention, not to believe that there's a supreme being who's in control of everything, or that you just created yourself, or you got created through naturalism, so on and so forth. Like, you got to be a very, very, on a low spirit. What, like they say in the word, a low spiritual vibration, right? Because you separated from your maker, ultimately separated from the power, for you to not believe in it. Now, there's been plenty of people who, even at camp, who come up not believing in the Lord or believing in divine intervention, that then walk away believing in the Most High God, and all praises to the Most High God, right? But essentially, being on that level and being stead and being firm in that level, it's not a good thing at all, right? When we've dealt with brothers who believe in this naturalism doctrine, right? Let me get this precept real quick in the book of Hosea, right? Chapter 14 and verse 9, right? It says, "Who is wise, and he shall understand these things, prudent, and he shall know them. For the ways of the Lord are right, and the just shall walk in them, but the transgressors shall fall therein. Right? So the ways of the Lord are right, man. And there's certain things that, you the wise are understanding. All right, the pure in heart, the ones that's trying to keep these laws, statutes, and commandments to the best of their ability, they'll understand these things. But the base, the natural man, they won't grasp these things. Why? Because they mind, their spirit is of the world. You understand? They're on a low level to be able to understand these things that seemingly to really are simple. It's not hard to be understood. It's not hard to even the animals understand that there's a higher power. They understand who feeds them, right? Salakia, bear with me. All right, Salakia family. Salakia. Right. All praise to the Most High. We back. Salakia. Damn Satan, man. Right. So right, we was in Hosea chapter 14. Right. Hosea chapter 14 and verse 9. I'm gonna read that again. It says, "Who is wise, and he shall understand these things." Right. So the wise are gonna understand, right, these things that are shown unto us. Ultimately, that's shown to the children of Israel. Right. We naturally, us as Israelites, we naturally have faith. We're more spiritual than the other nations are. Right. And when I say spiritual, I don't mean opening chakras and all this other different stuff. No, we're more spiritually inclined to the Most High God. All right, we're more spiritual and believing and have faith and full of these different things when it comes to believing in the Most High God and His Son. Why? Because we're the chosen people. We were built like that. We were made this way. Right? We were made that way. Right? It says, "And he shall know them, for the ways of the Lord are right, and the just shall walk in them, but the transgressors shall fall therein." So the transgressors, they'll fall by the side. Right? They'll get snatched and taken advantage of and get seduced when it comes to these different doctrines and philosophies and believing in wind, air, fire, and all this different stuff. Like, this is damn Avatar, the last airbender or something. All right. So let's go to the book, 2 Corinthians. All right. I want 2 Corinthians chapter 4. Right. This is the book of 2 Corinthians chapter 4 and verse 11. And it reads, "While we look not at the things which are seen, but the things which are not seen. For the things which are seen are temporal, but the things which are not seen are eternal." So the natural man can't understand something like that. See, the natural man believes that seeing is believing. They believe that, hey, if I can't see it or touch it, I don't believe in it. That's what naturalism is, basically. That's why they don't believe in a higher power. They don't believe in the Most High God. They believe that, hey, I know that it's the sun. I know that it's the moon. All right, I know fire. I know water. I see the trees, so on and so forth. All right, so they worship these things. They worship the things that you can see, like trees, fire, water, so on and so forth. All right, but don't worship the Most High God and those who created it, right? Or Him that created it. So, like, that's a naturalism mindset. That's off, right? And I wanna go into this. All right, I wanna pull this up on the screen. All right, we're gonna kind of get into this. Let's see if I can pull this up. It should let me. All right. Right, Lord willing, y'all can see my screen. Right. Let me see. Right, if you can, Baba Gashad, just put a con or a 7 in the chat if you can see the screen. You should be able to, Lord willing. Okay, Lord willing. All right, you should be able to see the screen. Right, so let me go to this. All right, this is naturalism. All right, it says naturalism and philosophy, a theory. All right, a theory that relates scientific method to philosophy by affirming that all but beings and events in the universe, whatever their inherent character may be, are natural. Right? So watch this. What the hell? What just happened? Okay. Right. So right here it says, consequently, all right. right? Consequently, all knowledge of the universe falls within the pale of scientific investigation. Although naturalism denies the existence of truly supernatural realities, it makes allowance for the supernatural, provided that knowledge of it can be had indirectly, that is, natural objects be influenced by the so-called supernatural entities in a detectable way, right? So that's that form, right? The form that we on, or the form that we're talking about, is where they literally just believe in natural things, right? They don't believe in okay, what's this? Right, it says naturalism is opposite of idealism. The naturalists believe that the natural world is the real world. Naturalism does not believe in spiritualism, right? So they don't believe in spirits, angels, the Most High. They don't believe in any of those things. It says naturalism think that scientific knowledge is the best, right? So they rely off of science, basically, right? Earth, water, fire, so on and so forth. Like I said earlier, if they can see it, they can touch it, they believe it, right? They can't comprehend, all right, the Most High God, basically, and the things thereof when it comes to that, right? So with that being said, right, it says, I'm gonna read this one more time in 2 Corinthians chapter 4 and verse 18. Right, it says, while we look not at things which are seen, but at the things which are not seen. For the things which are seen are temporal, but the things which are not seen are eternal. So we believe that the things that you can't see, those things, or not those things, but basically the spiritual realm, that's the real thing, right? We believe what's here, this is all a facade at the end of the day, right? It's all things that are temporary, all right? It won't last forever. Okay, your spirit that's inside of you is real. You understand? Things of this life, you understand, it's simply just a prison. You understand? It's for right now, at least, it's a prison for us. You understand? Heaven for, the so-called white man and the other nations. But so that's how we view things when it comes to that. Now watch this. All right, let's go to the book of Romans. All right, chapter 1. Simple things, simple basics. All right, this is the book of Romans, chapter 1 and verse 18. It says, for the wrath of God is revealed from heaven against all ungodliness and unrighteousness of men who hold truth in unrighteousness. Right, so you got these people who subscribe to naturalism. They hold unrighteousness, or they hold not the truth. They hold lies, right, nigh unto them. All right, it says, because that which may be known of God is manifest in them, for God has showed it unto them. So the Most High God has shown these different things unto us, and we bear witness with it. All right, it says, for the invisible things of him from the creation of the world are clearly seen, being understood by the things that are made, even his eternal power and Godhead, so that they are without excuse. So these things for us are clearly seen. It's clearly seen that the Most High God is in control. Why? Because when you read the scriptures, everything that the scriptures prophesied about so far has came to pass. So we have, like I say all the time, we have no choice but to believe on this Bible, and have no choice but to believe in the Most High God and believe that there's a higher power. All right, you didn't form or create yourself. We didn't just submerge out of thin air, or we didn't just get created we just created ourselves. We thought in our consciousness so hard, right? We were so advanced in our consciousness that we just formed ourselves from the dirt. That's not how it works. It's not how it go. Hey, the Most High God created us, man. The Most High God created everything that we know. All right. He put out the blueprint, right? And through that blueprint, he gave it to his son, and they went to work, man. All right. It says, I think I want to read on that. It says, verse 21, it says, because that when they knew God, they glorified him not as God, neither were thankful, but became vain in their imaginations, and their foolish heart was darkened. Professing themselves to be wise, they became fools. So people think they wise. Like we had a brother tell us he was woke. He said, "I'm woke." He said, "Y'all sleep. I'm woke. Y'all don't know what y'all talking about." I believe in naturalism, right? But he was mixing all type of stuff was getting mixed because he was a natural. He would claim to be a naturalism or a naturalist, but he believed in the Most High God. All right, so he believed in the Most High God, but he was a naturalist, right? That's you mixing. That's why the Lord said this, right? Let me get this. Let me get this real quick, right? All right, bear with me. I want to get this precept real quick. Right in the book of Matthew, right, chapter 9 and 17. I want to start at 16 though, right? It says, "No man," right? This is the book of Matthew, chapter 9 and verse 16. It says, "No man putteth a piece of new cloth unto an old garment, for that which is put in to fill it up taketh from the garment, and the rent is made worse." Meaning you don't go have a hoop session. All right, you sweating, you drenched, right? You had a whole hoop session, then you get home and you put on your best garment that you got. You don't do that, right? Or or the other way around. You don't have your best garment that you got on, and then you go in your dirty clothes basket and go put that on over, right? You don't do that, right? But watch this. It says, "No man putteth a piece of," or so like us, verse 17. "Neither do men put new wine in old bottles, else the bottles break, and the wine runneth out, and the bottle perish." Right. So you can't pour all these different doctrines and philosophies and then mix them and shake them together, and then you come up with your own form of what you want to believe in. That's not how this works. You're a naturalist. You're a naturalist, right? And chiefly naturalists don't believe in divine power. They don't believe in a supernatural being, being the supreme being and putting forth these different things. They believe that these things happen on their own through what? Science, molecules, and them doing things, them doing things on their own. So you're a naturalist, but you believe in the Most High God and you believe in parts of the Bible. You a walking contradiction. All right, literally a walking contradiction, right? Because watch this, right? Let's go to the book of Ezekiel, chapter 8. Because our forefathers, this is not anything new, right? Our forefathers, not all of them, but our wicked forefathers, or our forefathers that was misled, they worshipped things like the sun, the moon, the nature goddess, uh, all type of the moon goddess, all type of different things. They worship these different false gods and false idols, false philosophies and doctrines, and our people just take after those different things. They continue to be misled, right? Before I get this in Ezekiel, right, I want to look this up real quick. I want to pull this back up, right? Let me see if I can. I want to pull this back up. All right. Now, I wonder if it'll tell us. Right. Let's see who came up with this. It says self-proclaimed naturalists from that period included John Dewey, Ernest Nagall, Sidney Hook, Roy. That's not who. His name is it was a Frenchman who let me see if I type it in like this. Okay, here we go. Right, it says naturalism was first proposed and formulated by French novelist Émile Zola. Okay, so Émile Zola, and it was introduced to America by American novelist Frank Norris. Right, it says it has a new and harsher realism. It is a theory in literature emphasizing scientific observation of life without idealism or avoidance of the ugly, right? So it's created by none other than your so-called white man, right? Frenchman. You see that? So this is what Jake is just like when Jake want to be a Jehovah Witness, a Baptist, all right, what else? All these other different false religions, right? And philosophies that's created by who? None other than the so-called white man. All right. Jake that believe in naturalism is no different. Right? They no different from them. They taken after the ways, the philosophies, the doctrines of the so-called white men, and they being misled by doing that. All right. Simply being misled. Let me get this precept in the book of Jeremiah real quick before we get this in Ezekiel. Right. This is the book of Jeremiah chapter 7 and verse 8. It says, "Behold, ye trust in lying words that cannot profit." And that's plain. And a lot of our people do that. They trust in lying words, man, that can't profit our people at the end of the day, that don't do anything really but seduce our people and lead our people down the wrong path, right? This is the book of Proverbs chapter 17 and verse 4, right? It says, "A wicked doer giveth heed to false lips, and a liar giveth ear to a naughty tongue." Right? So a wicked doer, they'll get seduced by those different things. They'll get seduced, you understand, by these different doctrines, philosophies, Darwinism, naturalism, philosophies from Plato, Aristotle. They'll take heed to those different things. They'll take heed to a lot of the things that the so-called white man promotes in the school systems pertaining to how our people, or not how our people, but rather they'll learn and take heed after the slavery that they promote and push to you and feed you in school, rather than hear from their own people for real, whether they believe it or not. All right, they'll take these PhDs, right? These college certificate, and there's nothing wrong with going and doing that to better, financially or whatever the case may be. But when you put those things that you're taught on a pedestal, now you got our people walking around saying that we, came from monkeys. Well, hold on. That's not what the Lord said. So now what you end up doing when you do that is you put the doctrines and philosophies of the so-called white man, and you put it above the Most High God, making that your foundation. But you still say you believe in the Bible, or you still say you believe in God, though. But you're making the so-called white man your God, really, and his philosophies and doctrines. You making that your foundation. You're going to be tossed to and fro, and you giving heed to false lips. All right. So let's go to the book of Ezekiel, right? Because I want to show, right, our forefathers did this too, man. They believed in these different things and they were shunned for it. All right, this is the book of Ezekiel, chapter 8 and verse 13, right? It says, this is Ezekiel 8 and 13. It says, he said also unto me, turn ye yet again, and thou shalt see greater abominations than they do. Watch this. Verse 14, it says, then he brought me to the door of the gate of the Lord's house, which was toward the north. And behold, there sat a woman weeping for Tammuz. Said that there was a woman weeping for Tammuz. All right. Now, what is Tammuz? Right. Let's see. All right. Yeah, I think I spelled it right. Right. So this right here. Oh, wait. I don't know if y'all can see this. Hold on. Uh-oh. Okay. All right, hold on. I'm trying to get y'all to see this right here. Matter of fact, it's all good. We'll just use this right here. All right. So let's see what about Tammuz. Right, Tammuz is going into a goddess that, right, it's like the god of fertility. All right, boom. Right, so it says Tammuz, Sumerian Dumuzi, says in Mesopotamia religion, god of fertility, embodying the powers for new life in nature in the spring. Right, so Tammuz is basically the goddess of nature. Right, that's basically what Tammuz is going into. All right, let's see if I can put it. I want to put this up in the blue letter as well. You know, it'll be faster if I just do it right on my phone real quick. Forgive me, Israel. I'm trying to get better at technology. Right. All right. All right. So in the blue letter, when it shows you, right, you go into the Hebrew word for Tammuz. Right, it says a Phoenician. Right, it says Tammuz, a Phoenician deity. Tammuz. Right, and it says sprout of life, a Sumerian deity of food or vegetation. Right, life, nature. You see that? So on and so forth. Right, and that's Strong's H8542. All right, so Tammuz, right, going into fertility, yielding fruit and seed, nature. All right, going into nature, and that's exactly what our people do, is worship nature. All right, so you have this woman weeping, right? So in Ezekiel 8 and 14, I'm gonna read that one more time. It says, then he brought me to the door of the gate of the Lord's house, which was toward the north, and behold, there sat woman weeping for Tammuz. And he said unto me, hast thou seen this, O son of man? Turn ye yet again, and thou shalt see greater abominations than these. So the Lord called that an abomination, man. You're sitting there worshiping or weeping for the goddess Tammuz, right? You praying to nature, praying to the trees, praying to the sun. All these different things are frowned upon according to the Most High God, and you're looked at a low level, All right, let's get that in the book of Wisdom of Solomon. All right, Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 13, and we'll start at 1. Right, it says, surely vain are all men by nature who are ignorant of God, and could not out of the good things that are seen know him. That is, neither by considering the works did they acknowledge the work master. So the Lord said, hey, you're vain if you acknowledge everything else. You acknowledge the moon, the stars, the sun, the trees, you understand, the oceans, the rivers, the waterfall. You're vain if you acknowledge those things, but can't get it in your mind or can't get it in your head to understand the one that created it. So you believe in these things, but you don't believe in the one that created these different things. All right. You don't know about them. You ignorant of them. All right. It's going to tell you that, right? Let's read on. It says, but deemed either fire or wind or the swift air or the circle of the stars. And when you go into naturalism, those are the elements that they cleave to: wind, fire, so on and so forth, right? Stars. It says, or the circle of the stars, or the violent water, or the lights of heaven, to be the gods which govern the world, with whose beauty, if they being delighted took them to be gods, let them know how much better the Lord of them is, for the first author of beauty hath created them. So you, once again, that's why we say it's a base level thing to not believe in the Most High God, but to believe in these elements and to worship the trees, the wind, the sun, and the moon, but to not worship the Most High God, who literally created the thing that you're putting on a pedestal. That's madness. That's why the scripture said in 13:1, hey, surely vain are all men by nature who know not of God, paraphrasing. Because that is a vain thing. That is a vain way to think. You understand? Very vain way. Right? Let's go. All right. I want to pull this up too. Let's see. Right. So I'm gonna keep this up. I'm gonna put this back on, and I'm gonna keep this up. Okay. All right. All right, I should be able to. Lord willing, y'all can see the screen. I should be able to. Right, but it says naturalist. Okay, right. It says naturalist simply assert that nature is reality, the whole of it. There is nothing beyond, nothing other than, no other world of being. Naturalist greatest vogue occurred during the 1930s and 40s, chiefly in the United States. Blah. All right. Basic principles. It says, this is the basic principles of naturalism. It says reality can truly be analyzed by nature science. The present in the real life, man should try to make. All right, that's folly. This is madness. What are their core values, right? For naturalists, nature is the only reality, the correct. It says there is nothing such a thing as supernatural, i.e., anything above, beyond, or outside of nature. The scientific method is to be used to investigate all reality, including the human spirit, right? So basically, they base everything off of trees. To plainly put it, right? To plainly put it, they base everything off of trees, the sun, the moon, stars, and fire and water. right? No wonder they base. How can you tell if it's a spirit or not by trying to base it off of damn water and fire, but on a low level. You understand? The Most High God is outside of those different things, right? So I want to get this too, right? I don't want to go too long. I still want to get this other the second part of this topic, right? Ultimately, they just on a low level, right? I want to go to First Corinthians chapter 2, right? Once again, I keep saying it, but it's just a low level of thinking, right? Spiritually, right? Because they can't discern these different things. They don't understand these different things. Why? Because they can't. Unless the Most High God opens up their spirit to be able to accept these different things, right? It says, right, this is the book of Salaki. This is First Corinthians chapter 2, and I'm gonna start at verse 12. Salaki. Right, 2 and verse 12, it says, now we have received not the spirit of the world, but the spirit of Salakia, but the spirit which is of God, that we might know the things that are freely given to us of God. Right. So we don't have the spirit of the world and what they promote and what they do, and we giving heed to those false lips, ideologies, philosophies, doctrines, so on and so forth. All right, we got the spirit of Yahweh Shem Yahushua that he's given through us to the Holy Spirit. It says, which things also we speak, not in words which man's wisdom teacheth, because man's wisdom doesn't teach that there's a supernatural or a supreme being, you understand, that controls everything and divine intervention and things are predestined and your steps are ordered by the man's wisdom doesn't teach that. Man's wisdom teaches you that what? Man's wisdom teaches you that, hey, look, we came from monkeys. All right. They teach you that everything was created from a gigantic big bang that happened of itself and not from somebody on the outside orchestrating it. You understand? They tell you that all these natural events and natural disasters, so on and so forth, are all just caused just by nature, right? That there's not angels that's stirring up these different elements in order to do these different things. You understand? That's what man wisdom teaches. All right. It says, reading on, or reading 13 again, it says, which things also we speak, not in the words which man's wisdom teacheth, but which the Holy Spirit teacheth, comparing spiritual things with spiritual things. And that's how we operate, right? Watch this. It says, but the natural man receiveth not the things of the Spirit of God. So the natural man, meaning the base man, can't understand these different things. They can't understand that things in life are predestined, that the Most High God wrote out everything and these things are happening, right? And his counsel is going to stand, which he made and created from the beginning. All right. Reading on, it says, I'm going to read that one more time. It says, which things also we speak, not in the words which man's wisdom teacheth, but which the Holy Spirit teacheth, comparing spiritual things with spiritual things. But the natural man receiveth not the spirit of this Salakia, receiveth not the things of the Spirit of God, but they are foolishness unto him. So it's a foolish thing for somebody to believe that the words in this book, all right, is prophecy, and a lot of it is history, because it was once prophecy and then it came to pass for the things that are pertaining to prophecy in the scriptures. They can't understand that this book is divine, that the book is alive and steady coming to pass on the daily. All right. They can't understand that you have angels surrounding you. They can't understand that when somebody is in the act of sin, or in an act of wickedness, or somebody strung out on drugs, or they got a certain type of malicious spirit, that's a spirit that's on that brother. It's a spirit that's on that. This is a spirit that's on these heathen, man. That's not just no, it's these things are spirits. You have a spirit inside of you. All right, real quick. Let's go back to the book of Ezekiel real quick. Right, this is the book of Ezekiel chapter 18 and verse 4. It says, behold, all souls are mine. As the soul of the Father, so also the soul of the Son is mine. The soul that sinneth, it shall die. Right, so you have a soul. Right, you have a spirit. All right, everybody has a soul. All right, and everybody has a spirit, you know, that's about them. Right, if you got ears to hear. Right, so back in 2 Corinthians or 1 Corinthians chapter 2 and verse 14, reading on, it says, but the natural man receiveth not the things of the Spirit of God, for they are foolishness unto him, neither can they know them, because they are spiritually discerned. Right, in other words, spiritually impaired. They not connected all the way. They remedial. All right, the R word. Okay, spiritually, because they can't grasp these different things. They can't believe. They spirit won't let them believe that there's a higher power. All right, let's go to the book of Ephesians real quick, because predestination is real as well. So it's in the scriptures. All right, this is the book of Ephesians chapter 1. Let me get right to the point. I believe that's 5. Right, this is the book of Ephesians chapter 1 and verse 5. It says, having predestinated us unto the adoption of children. Right, so predestination is real. Predestination is in the scriptures, straight up and down. It says, having predestinated us unto the adoption of children by Yahushua Mashiach to himself, according to the good pleasure of his will. Meaning who? The Most High God. All right, when you woke up and drove, right, and whatever the case may be, or you went to the refrigerator, you got this specific drink, or whatever you did is already written out. It's already predestinated. Where you gonna go, where you gonna end up, what your lot is, it's already predestinated. It's already sought. It's already wrote out. All right, we just living out the scripts that we was given, aka your lot. All right, let me jump down to verse 11 in the same chapter. Right, it says, in whom also we have obtained an inheritance, being predestinated according to the purpose of him who worketh all things after the counsel of his own will, which is who? The will of the Father. Right, so in order for things to be predestinated, it can't be natural. Right, because it has to be somebody orchestrating these different things. Right, and coming up with these different things. Now, I want to get this real quick in the book of Acts. Right, I want Acts, I believe, 17. Right, it's the book of Acts, chapter 17. And I'm going to start at verse 18. Right, it's the book of Acts, chapter 17 and verse 18. It says, then certain philosophers, right? So yes, you have philosophers in the ancient world. You have philosophers during the time of Paul, during the time of Christ. This is not a new thing. All right. It says, then certain philosophers of the Epicureans, right, and of the Stoics, it says, encountered him, and some said, what will this babbler say? Others some, he seemeth to be a setter forth of strange gods, because he preached unto them Yahushua and the resurrection. All right, now let me drop down to verse. Actually, I'm gonna just keep reading. Right, it says, and they took him and brought him into Areopagus, saying, may we know what this new doctrine whereof thou speakest is. It says, for thou bringest certain strange things to our ears. We would know therefore what these things mean. So when you bring to a quote unquote a naturalist or somebody that subscribes to naturalism, when you bring these different things to their ear, it's a strange thing unto them. Why? Because their spirit is not inclined to be able to believe in divine intervention, to be able to believe in this supreme being like the Most High God. All right, it says, reading on, for thou, verse 21, it says, for all the Athenians and strangers which were there spent their time in nothing else but either to tell or to hear some new things. So they got off on hearing different doctrines and philosophies and taking heed to them, basically. Right? It says, then Paul stood in the midst of Mars Hill and said, ye men of Athens, I perceive that in all things ye are too superstitious. For as I passed by and beheld your devotions, I found an altar with this inscription, to the unknown God, whom therefore ye ignorantly worship, him declare I unto you. So these men in Athens, which were Israelites, right, they was worshiping the Lord, not understanding, or they was worshiping basically a God who they basically named the unknown God, right? Not understanding that the Most High God is the one that does these different things, creates these different things, had these different events happen. You understand? And that's exactly how Jake and Eve is, who believe in this naturalism stuff. You understand? They chalk it up to the stars, the moon, the sun, the trees, all right, fire, not understanding that the Most High God is the one that created these different things. Right? Now they're not worshiping the Most High God, they're worshiping the creation of the Most High God, which is off. You're supposed to worship the Lord, not fire or water or air, trees, the sun, moon, and stars. Those are his creations. You're supposed to worship the one that created these different things, which is Yahweh Bashem Yahushua. All right. So now, right, I got a little bit of time left, right? I still got some time, right? Let's go into the second part of the topic, which is the second commandment, right? Just to get clarity, give some clarity on the second commandment, because you got a lot of people who still believe that, you know, pertaining to the second commandment, there's things that you cannot do, but they don't have the correct or proper understanding of it. All right. And as far as naturalism, hey, look, that's off. It's wicked, right? You got to depart from it. All right. Or Jake and Eve got to depart from that, right? And stop following after the ways of the heathen, man. Stop following after the ways of their doctrines and philosophies that they put forth upon the face of the earth to get you to not believe in the Most High God. Because mind you, all these different religions, philosophies, doctrines is literally to get you further away from the Lord. And Jake and Eve got to understand that, man, and stop giving heed to false lips. Right now, this is or Exodus chapter 20. And I'll get right to the point, right? Verse 4, right? Going into the second commandment, because you got a lot of people that believe that it's off, or you breaking the commandment to make a depiction of something that is below the earth or in the heavens. All right, in the third heaven. All right, you got people that believe that it's off to do these different things. All right, we got people. We have people that come up and say we going off for having depictions of whether that be chariots or a depiction of who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. You know, so let's go into this real quick. All right, it's the book of Exodus chapter 20 and verse 4. It says, thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image or any likeness of anything that is in heaven above or that is in the earth beneath. Salakia. Right? Or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. All right. And they stop right there. And they say that, see, y'all going off. You can't make a depiction of Yahweh Shai. You can't make a depiction of the chariots. You can't make depiction of the angels. You can't make depiction of any of these things. If you do that, you're going off. All right. I'm gonna read this one more time, and we're gonna break this thing down. All right. It's a simple comprehension skills. All right. This is Exodus chapter 20 and verse 4. It says, "Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image or any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth." Right? So if you just stop there, that means that you saying that you can't make a picture, you can't draw a fish. All right, you can't draw a shark. You can't draw anything in the water. All right. You can't draw a chariot or have a depiction of a chariot. All right. You can't draw an angel or have a depiction of an angel. You can't draw your house or have a depiction of your house. You can't do any of these different things. But let's read the next verse. All right, verse 5. It says, "Thou shalt not bow down thyself to them, nor serve them, for I am the Lord thy God." Telling you that you can't make these different images and then bow down unto them. It's not saying that you can't make these different images. This is how we know why, right? Let's go to the book of we're gonna stay in Exodus. All right. Actually, first, before we get that, I want to get First Kings real quick. Let's go to the book of First Kings, chapter 6. Right. And I'm gonna read verse 1 first. Right. This is the book of First Kings, chapter 6 and verse 1. It's the book of First Kings, chapter 6 and verse 1. It says, "And it came to pass in the 480th year, after the children of Israel were come out of the land of Egypt, in the 4th year of Solomon's reign over Israel, in the month Ziv, which is the 2nd month, that he began to build the house of the Lord." So the point is, this chapter is going into him building the temple, building the house of the Lord. All right. So now let's go and let's jump down to verse 22. All right. And let's see what Solomon had built in the temple and around the temple. Right. This is the book of First Kings, chapter 6 and verse 22. It says, "And the whole house he overlaid with gold until he had finished all the house. Also the whole altar that was by the oracle he overlaid with gold." Right? It says, and within the oracle he made 2 cherubims of olive tree, each 10 cubits high. Now a cherubim is an angel. All right. Angels, according to the scriptures, right? Most of them, or a lot of them, dwell in the 3rd heaven. All right. You got angels that worship before the Lord day and night, right? Let's get that real quick. Let's go to the book of Isaiah, chapter 6, real quick. All right. This is the book of Isaiah, chapter 6 and verse 1. Right. It says, "In the year that King Uzziah died, I saw also the Lord sitting upon the throne, high and lifted up, and his train filled the temple." Obviously, this is talking about in the 3rd heaven. It says, "Above it stood the seraphims. Each one had 6 wings. With twain he covered his face, and with twain he covered his feet, and with twain he did fly. And one cried unto another, and said, Holy, holy, holy is the Lord of hosts. The whole earth is full of his glory." So the point is, you have angels that's in the 3rd heaven that just worship the Most High God all day. But point is, angels are in the 3rd heaven. They're in the heavens above. In 1 Kings chapter 6 and verse 22, Solomon literally made angels, right, out of wood, if I'm not mistaken. Right? Right. It says out of the olive tree. So he literally made a depiction of angels. Mind you, Solomon got this blueprint from his father David. The blueprint to build the house of the Lord, the temple of the Lord. And within it contained what? That he do what? Make the cherubims, the angels, you understand, which is things that are seen where? In the third heaven, in the heavens above. So did Solomon go off by doing that and making that in the temple? No. Why? Because it's not a sin to make a depiction. It's a sin to bow down unto these different things, to these different depictions. All right, you be going off if you got a depiction, right? Say Yahushua, or you got a depiction of the angel, Mary. Like you got a lot of Northern Kingdom do that, right? They pray to these different idols. They pray to these different images. You understand? That's all. You can't do that. But it's not off to have a depiction of what something looks like, whether it be in the ocean, beneath the earth, or whether it be above the heavens. All right. So I'm gonna read that one more time, right? I'm gonna get right to the point though, right? This is 1 Kings 6 and 23. It says, and within the oracle he made 2 cherubims of olive tree, which, or so like each 10 cubits high, right? And it says, and 5 cubits was the one wing of the cherub, and 5 cubits was the other wing of the cherub, and the uttermost part of one wing unto the uttermost part of the other were 10 cubits. And the other cherub was 10 cubits. Both the cherubims were of the one measure, were both of the one measure and one size. The height of one cherub was 10 cubits, and so was the height of the other cherub. So the point is, when you continue to read these different things, Solomon literally created created depictions, right? Or he had men go out and sculpt these depictions of the angels, right? Drop down to verse 29. It says, or actually, I'm going to just keep reading, right? In verse 27, all right, it says, and he set the cherubims within the inner house, and they stretched forth the wings of the cherubims, so that the wing of one touched the wall, and the wing of the other cherub touched the other wall, and their wings touched one another in the midst of the house. And he overlaid the cherubs with gold, and he carved all the walls of the house round about with carved figures of cherubims and palm trees and open flowers within and without. So Solomon, not only did he make out of wood and overlay with gold these angels, he also had people carve within the walls of the temple, depictions of angels. All right. So according to people that believe that making the depiction of things that are above the heavens or things that are below the earth in the waters, that's a sin. That means you're claiming that Solomon sinned and went off by doing this, when in the scriptures it gives no there's no what word I'm trying to use. Basically, nowhere in the scripture does it tell you that he went off by doing these things. It tells you what he went off when he did, what he did when he went off, and it lets you know that he went off by doing that. Nowhere in the scriptures did it say anything about him going off by making these depictions of angels and putting them in the temple and carving them on the walls. It's not in there. All right. They wasn't burning incense to the angels. They wasn't bowing down and worshiping the angels, man. No, because why? Right? Let's go to the book of Exodus, chapter 24. Right? This is what people got to understand. Moses was literally the things that are made, right? And we're gonna get into this too. Lord willing, we able to get through it all time wise. Hold on. Lord willing, we able to get through it all time wise. Right. Let me get right to it. Right. This is the book of Exodus chapter 24 and 14. And it reads 14. Boom. And it reads, and he said unto Moses, Salakia, and he said unto the elders, tarry ye here for us until we come again unto you. And behold, Aaron and Hur are with you. If any man have any matters to do, let him come unto them. And Moses went up into the mount, and a cloud covered the mount, right? Talking about the chariot of the Lord. It says, and the glory of the Lord abode upon Mount Sinai, and the cloud covered it 6 days. And the seventh day he called unto Moses out of the midst of the cloud, and the sight of the glory of the Lord was like a devouring fire on the top of the mountain, on the top of the mount in the eyes of the children of Israel. Right? Watch this. It says, and Moses went into the midst of the cloud, talking about he went into the chariot of the Lord. Watch this. And it says, and gat him up into the mount, and Moses was in the mount 40 days and 40 nights. What was he in there for 40 days and 40 nights doing? The Lord was literally showing him and expounding unto him things concerning the law. Okay, things that are in the third heaven. Because remember, he had to make these different things according to what he's seen in the third heaven. All right, and we're going to get those things. We're going to get that as well, Lord willing. Not only that, he was getting expounded unto him what? Things that happened in the past, right? You read about that in the book of 2nd Esdras, 14, if I'm not mistaken. Let me get that real quick. In the book of 2nd Esdras. I believe that's 2nd Esdras 14. Right, this is the book of 2nd Esdras, chapter 14, and verse 1 or verse 3. It says, then said he unto me, in the bush I did manifestly reveal myself unto Moses and talk with him when my people served in Egypt. And I sent him and led my people out of Egypt and brought him up into the Mount of Sinai, where I held him by me a long season and told him many wondrous things and showed him the secrets of the times and the end, and commanded him, saying, these words shalt thou declare, and these shalt thou hide. All right, so Moses was in the mount receiving instructions from the Lord. Right, the Lord told him things that we don't know. The Lord told him things that we do know, because the Lord told him those things. Like what? Things that happened in the beginning, story of Adam and Eve, all right, going into the history of our forefathers, all right, all types of showed them the things that's in the third heaven and how these things are conducted, all right, so on and so forth. All right, so Moses is in the mount, right, in chariot for 40 days and 40 nights, right? So let's go to the next chapter. It's 25 and 17, right? Exodus 25 and 17. This is what I want, right? It says, and thou shalt make a mercy seat of pure gold, 2 cubits and a half shall be the length thereof, and a cubit and a half the breadth thereof. And thou shalt make 2 cherubims of gold. Remember, cherubims is going into what? Angels. Right? You got cherubims, you got seraphims, you got archangels, so on and so forth. The list goes on. All right. The Lord literally commanded him to make angels, depictions of angels. Now, did the Lord make Moses sin by doing that? No. Why? Because it's not a sin to make a depiction. It's a sin to do what? Bow down into it and worship those things and put those things before the Most High God. Period. All right. Reading on. It says, verse 19 again, it says, and make 1 cherubim on the one side and and the other cherub on the other end, even of the mercy seat shalt thou make the cherubims on the two ends thereof. And the cherubims shall stretch forth their wings on high, covering the mercy seat with their wings, and their faces shall look one to another toward the mercy seat, shall the faces of the cherubims be. Right? And thou shalt put the mercy seat above upon the ark, and in the ark thou shalt put the testimony that I shall give thee. Right? So the Lord commanded Moses to make depictions of angels, right? Which do what? Dwell in the third heaven. All right. Let's go to the book, all right, of Exodus chapter 31. Or Salaki 32, Salaki. All right, watch this. This is the book of Exodus chapter 32 and verse 1. Right? It says, when the people saw that Moses delayed to come down out of the mount, the people gathered themselves together unto Aaron and said unto him, up, make us gods which shall go before us, for as for this Moses, the man that brought us up out of the land of Egypt, we know not what is become of him. And Aaron said unto them, break off your golden earrings which are in your ears, of your wives, of your sons, and of your daughters, and bring them to me. All right. Now let me drop down to the point. Verse 4, it says, and he received them in their hand and fashioned it with a graven tool after he had made it a molten calf. And they said, these be thy gods, O Israel, which brought thee up out of the land of Egypt. That's going off. They did what? With those images, they began to worship them, bow down unto it, give those things reverence. They put those golden calves above the Most High God, which is what? Going off. All right, let's go to the book of Ezekiel. Let's go back to that real quick. All right, it's the book of Ezekiel chapter 8 and verse 9. Right? It says, and he said unto me, go in and behold the wicked abominations that they do here. So I went in and saw, and behold, every form of creeping things and abominable beasts, and all the idols of the house of Israel portrayed upon the wall round about. And there stood before them 70 men of the ancients of the house of Israel, and in the midst of them there stood Josiah, the son of Shaphan, with every man his censer in his hand, and the thick cloud of incense went up. So these men, what did they do? They had carvings inside the temple of what? Every creeping thing you can imagine, abominable things that you can imagine. And what were they doing? They were worshiping those things. They were burning incense into these different things, man. That's going off. All right. One more. Let's go to the book of 2 Chronicles. Right. Chapter 25 and 14. Right. It says, now it came to pass after that Amaziah was come from the slaughter of the Edomites, that he brought the gods of the children of Seir and set them up to be gods, and bowed down himself before them and burned incense unto them. Wherefore the anger of the Lord was kindled against Amaziah, and he sent unto him a prophet, which said unto him, why hast thou sought after the gods of the people, which could not deliver their own people out of thine hand? So, Amaziah went and did what? Begin to worship and bow down to these different things, gods, idols that were created. Let's go back to the book of Exodus, right? Which is all going off at the end of the day, right? It's the book of Exodus, chapter 20 and chapter 20 and verse 4. Right, it says, thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image or any likeness of anything that is in the heaven above, or in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. Thou shalt not bow down thyself to them, nor serve them, for I am the Lord thy God, for I, the Lord thy God, am a jealous God, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children until the third and fourth generation of them that hate me. So what's the point? Point is, it's not a sin to draw or make a depiction, okay, of something, whether that be the Lord, an angel, a chariot, a fish, a shark, a whale, whatever the case may be. It is a sin to bow down unto these different things, pray unto these different things, worship these different things. That's what is a sin to do. All right. So you got, like I said earlier, you got a lot of people that they believe that it's a sin to have a depiction of have a depiction that's based off of the scriptures, right, of Yahweh Shai. And they say, oh, you going on, you're not supposed to do that. You can't make any depiction of things that are in heaven. Oh, well, our forefathers, you understand, had the understanding of the law. Moses himself had the understanding of the law, right? Most of our kings had understanding of the law, you understand? And mighty men in Israel, all right, King Solomon, David, Moses, so on and so forth, they understood that, hey, look, not only did they understand, but Moses was told by the Lord personally, make cherubims. And I need you to make it this specific way, like this. I need and put it. What's the name? King Solomon had them carved out on the walls. Not to mention had the cherubims dipped in gold. You understand? So we have to understand and realize the totality of the scriptures and the meaning of the laws, of these laws and of the scriptures. All right. So Lord willing, all right, brothers and sisters, was edified, right? No subscribing or getting into naturalism, all right, which was created by a French Edomite, all right, and no going around saying it's off to have a depiction, man. Right. So Lord willing, brothers and sisters, was edified. Lord willing, brothers and sisters, continue to endure in these last days. With that, Kwam Yasha Allah, Shalom, family.